Hey everybody, in this video I'm going to show you what to do if you run out of clay and you really want your cup to be a little bit taller. So I want you to think about making at least one of your cups with a flat bottom and at least one with a nice rounded base. And also I want you to pay close attention to the rim and the feet, and I'm going to show you how to put a handle on as well. So in this case I have a little pinch pot. Everything's looking pretty good. It's leather hard. I can keep continuing the shape, but I need to make it a little bit taller, so I'm going to go ahead and roll out a coil. You can add lots of little coils, or you can add one bigger one. I'm going to take this coil of clay and flatten it off. Some people use a rolling pin for this. Make sure it's longer than you need. When I say that, it needs to be long enough to go all the way around. This is way too long. I'm also going to leave it a little bit thicker than the wall here, so I can continue pinching and keep the surface going. You can also taper this edge just a little bit. This will be the drinking rim. Some people put a piece of plastic on this or a piece of paper and then run your finger across. So you can see how that edge tapers a little bit. That's going to feel good on your lips. Okay, I have my cup. I need to go ahead and scratch this whole surface. Again, you can use anything to slip and score, like a comb or a fork. But a needle tool is really like the worst, you know, it's like just not enough. It just takes too long, and sometimes it's too deep of scratches. Gonna put some slip on here. I have a slab I already prepared. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and start on one side and just kind of press this down, work it into the wall. Remember, the bottom section is a little bit stiffer than the clay I'm putting on. And then I want to overlap this. This is pretty important. I'm going to go ahead and overlap. You can see it's overlapped more than I need. Now I'm going to take a tool, any kind of knife is going to do, and go ahead and just cut this. There's going to be a little extra on both sides. Lightly score both sides. Tiny bit of slip. And wiggle it together. You can see how it comes together pretty nicely. Some people don't like that seam. You can go ahead and just press it down to hide it, blend it in. Or you could leave it. I mean, it's completely up to you. Remember, you really have two options. You can either try to, you know, totally hide that seam, or have it obviously applied, but you don't want to get stuck in between. Accentuating the seam can be really nice. Now I'm going to go ahead and pinch this a little bit more. It's a little bit thicker up here, so I'm going to just, you can see how it's already made the cup much taller. Potentially even doubling the volume. Now I can just pinch and turn. Make sure I blend this nicely here. Now everybody, when they're pinching, really has a unique pinch mark, you know, and so you can go ahead and leave that and it looks good. Or you can you can get rid of it by using any type of rib you want on the outside. If I'm going to want it smooth, I'm going to use a flexible metal rib. And just lightly see how it's slightly smoothing off the surface. I'm getting to more of a nice mug size. Getting a nice continuation of the form. That's looking pretty good. In this case, I have a nice rounded bottom. You can work the inside with the rounded part of the rib. Okay, so this is obviously you need some sort of foot. The flat bottom ones take care of themselves. I've even tapped this bottom part in a little so it's slightly concave. And to make this little beginning on the bottom, I really just take the pinch pot. This one's super wet. And just with my thumb and fingers I can start changing the shape on the inside. To me, this one's a little bit wet. Needs to be dried. Okay, so let's put a foot on this. To make a foot, you just need a little tiny piece of clay. You can either roll out a coil and wrap it around, something like this, or you can make a little pinch pot, but just go all the way through. Some people roll it along the table like this. It's always a good idea to make several feet, several handles per cup. You can see this is going to be a little bit too small. Totally would change the characteristic of this cup though. You can see the form. By adding this on there, all of a sudden it looks more like a goblet. I'm going to go ahead and just trace around where I need to score. I always look at it from all directions and to see if it's centered and looking like it's proportionately working. And always let things homogenize before you do too much to it. Any chance I get, I like to twist things on. This cup needs a handle. making video on my website. But I just like to take a little lump of clay. I don't need that much. Long, even pressure from the tips of my finger to the heel of my hand, just like any coil. But I'm going to have more pressure with one side of my hand than the other, and that's going to make more of a tapered coil, like a carrot shape. You can already see that it sort of looks like a handle just the way it is. But I like to flatten it off. It feels a little bit better. I like to use this area of my hand for that. Now if you have a very pinchy surface, you might want to have that continue with your handle. Just pressing down into the table with my thumbs. And always make your handles bigger than you think you need. I'm going to go ahead and take a knife or a rib or something and I cut it at what I'm calling a 45-degree angle. That's going to maximize my connection area. And then you really want to let this handle set up to the same consistency as the cup. This cup is dry just a little. I have another one I made a little bit earlier. And just place it on there to see how it looks. You can see how the proportions looking okay. You can kind of give it a test feel. Feels like it's going to be okay. If you like it, you just need to score where it's going to be attached. Go ahead and mark it. Score where you're going to be attaching. Glue everything up. Go ahead and wiggle it on there. Handles are very personal things. I can make a handle that feels really great in my hands and someone picks it up and it just doesn't feel good in their hands. And so it's important to make a handle that fits your hands nicely. You can't pick these things up until they're fired, but you can still lightly test how it's going to feel, and I feel like that's going to be okay. Go ahead and clean up all your marks. And any surface embellishment you want to do later is totally fine. It's going to make the cup just a much more personal, better cup in the long run. And that's how you add handles and add extensions to your pinch pots.